The, the song is Come, Come, Whoever You Are. It's number 188. We are continuously learning. Good morning. My name is Reverend Karen Madrone, and my pronouns are she and hers. Today is our All Souls Sunday, where we honor those who have physically departed from our lives. We are exploring religious, including Unitarian Universalists, understanding of death and how our relationships with those who have passed affect us still today. Our chalice lighting words come from the Reverend Florence Caplow. She writes, as we kindle this flame, we honor and remember those who have passed into the mystery. Their brightness lives on in our vision. Their courage lives on in our commitments, and their love continues to bless us continues to bless the world through us. Thank you.
We bid you welcome. We do not ask what you believe or expect you to think a certain way, but only that you try to live a good, kindly, helpful life with the dignity proper to a human being. Welcome all believe that religion is wider than any sect and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who might find friendship, strength, and encouragement for daily living. Hello, and welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. Thank you for spending your Sunday morning with us, whether you are enjoying it here in the meeting house with us or joining us online. My name is Nathan, and I recognize most of you, but some of you are scary today. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors today. After the service, we invite you to stay for coffee and conversation, normally downstairs, but we got all sorts of parties on treats on the trail outdoors today. Today we have a message for all ages where children's, teens, and tweens are encouraged to join for some of the service today. We will have joys and sorrows. We will share those later in the service, and you can come up to the microphone or text your joy or concern to the phone number that's in the second page of the order of service there. And please now, though, take a moment to silence your cell phones, but feel free to share that you're having a good time here on social media. All right. If you could please join me as we say our shared affirmation of mission. We are called as Universalist, Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all are welcome as blessings. Let's recite our mission together, which can be found on the second page of the order of service. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion. And now I'd like to welcome, there she is, Corey, our religious education coordinator. Actually, these are a message for all ages.
Thank you. right, good morning. I love seeing all these costumes. So cool. So we are, I'm going to read a story. And it's kind of funny that we are, all in costumes here, but we're also talking about All Souls Day and those who we love that have departed and are no longer with us physically. But it also is in lots of places all around the world. It's a joyous celebration when around this time. For example, in Mexico and parts of Central America, they are celebrating El Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. So I thought it would be appropriate to read a book to give you an idea of how they celebrate and honor their loved ones who have passed. A Day of the Dead, El Dia de los Muertos by Bob Burner. We celebrate our ancestors on the Day of the Dead with offerings of flowers, sugar skulls, and bread. And if you can't see, if you'd like to come up closer, my little friends that can't see back there, or anybody, if anybody needs to get closer to see, you can come up here.
What is the thing before?
Come right over here, though.
I have no idea what the thing before a sugar.
Oh, sugar skulls. I can explain that if you want. Come sit over here. Watch the microphone. All right, there we go. Watch the microphone. Watch the microphone. They are. They're skulls made of sugar. Yes, that's exactly what they are. All right, can everybody see better? Yes? All right. We make tacos, empanadas, mole, and treats. Lots of yummy food. Smell incense that burns, smoky and sweet. See that? Before we go out, everything must be done. They're getting ready for something. Pack up your bundles, our bundles, before the setting sun. Under twinkling stars and the moon glowing light, light the candles that flicker with soft yellow light. Mark a path for the spirits with the petals of flowers. How many of you remember sprinkling the marigold flowers, or the marigold flowers that were sprinkled on our aisleway here? And yes, the bridge. Yeah, the bridge. Some of you were here for that service in the beginning of the month. So the marigolds are sprinkled out, making a path. We dance, we sing. It's a celebration. And remember the loved ones for ours. Celebrate our ancestors on the Day of the Dead. We smell the sweet flowers as we lie down for bed. So, in Mexico, and like I said, in parts of Central America too, and other places in the world, in the United States here, some people celebrate this holiday to remember their loved ones, and it's a celebration of their life. And we are going to, real quick, I really like author Anna Aranda's note from her book, Our Day of the Dead Celebration. She says, since ancient times, humans have sought ways to celebrate the lives of their family members who died. In Mexico, some people celebrate their departed loved ones by making altars. They can be decorated with sugar skulls, marigold flowers, just like the book said, and beloved food. Sharing stories and writing poems about the dead also help keep their memories alive. Remembering the sweet times with those who are no longer with us is important because when we remember, we live again, and they live again through us. We're going to take a moment to honor and remember our loved ones. We have asked our RE youth to place a light or a picture of a departed one on our remembrance table while the choir sings Remember Me from the movie Coco.
Wait.
If you have a picture, did anybody bring a picture? I think we have.
Tell me if my sword falls out of my hand.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have a picture that they want to bring? Kids, come over this way. Come over this way. Stand where Dante is over here. Okay. Come on over here. Everybody gets to place a candle. Go ahead, Dante. You can go ahead and put that on there. Would you like to place a candle?
We didn't bring anything.
Okay. That's okay. I have candles for you to place.
You can put some candles on.
Thank you, Karen.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Well, it's not in your order of service, but we are going to have a moment of meditation here together. So as we acknowledge All Souls Day and think on those who have passed from this earthly realm, many of us also think on our own deaths, hopefully at some point long in the distant future. There are the logistics, sure. I hope many of you have made your plans or have begun to think of those, but we also think on our family and friends and the comfort we hope they receive on our passing. Towards that end, our meditation moment this morning will be centered on imagining our future memorial service in a belief system that many of us share. This meditation is adapted from the reading, You Want a Physicist to Speak at Your Funeral by Aaron Freeman. In preparation for our meditation, move your limbs, feet, neck, head to whatever is a comfortable position for you here in this historic Universalist meeting house. Feel the spirits of those who came before you here in this space. Take in a deep breath and feel your body in this space now. Take a deep breath in one more time. Close your eyes and be open to your imagination. Imagine one day in the hopefully very distant future, there will be people here in this space mourning your death. Whether your memorial service is right away or several months later, you too will be remembered. Imagine who you might want to speak at your funeral. Imagine there is a physicist at your funeral. This physicist could talk to your grieving family about the conservation of energy so they will understand that your energy has not died. This physicist could remind your parents and loved ones about the first law of thermodynamics, that no energy is created in the universe and none is destroyed. Your loved ones will remember that all your energy, every vibration, every BTU of heat, every wave of every particle that was their beloved child, their beloved friend, that is you, remains in this world. The physicist could tell your parents and relatives that amid the energies of the cosmos, you gave as good as you got. And at one point, you'd hope that the physicist would step down from the pulpit and walk to your broken-hearted spouse or partner there in the pew and tell them that all the photons that ever bounced off your face, all the particles whose paths were interrupted by your smile, by the touch of your hair, hundreds of trillions of particles have raced off you like children, their ways forever changed by you. May the physicist let your spouse and friends know that all the photons that bounced from you, that are bouncing from you now in this room, were gathered in the particle detectors that are their eyes, that those photons created within their constellations of electromagnetically charged neurons whose energy will go on forever. And the physicist will remind all those gathered of how much of all our energy is given off as heat. There may even be a few people fanning themselves with their programs. The physicist will tell them that the warmth that flowed through you in life is still here, still part of all that we are, even as we who mourn continue in the heat of our own lives. And you'll want the physicist to explain to those who loved you that they need not have faith in some outer being. Indeed, maybe that doesn't serve them so well. Let them know that they can measure, that scientists have measured precisely the conservation of energy and found it accurate, verifiable, and consistent across space and time. You can hope your family will examine the evidence and satisfy themselves that the science is sound, and that they'll be comforted to know your energy is still around. According to the law of the conservation of energy, not a bit of you is gone. You're just less orderly. One day, our physical selves will no longer be in this earthly realm. But according to physics, something that you put a lot of faith in, your energy is still present. May that be a comfort to you now and to your family and friends, hopefully in the long distant future. Amen. Please bring your attention to this time together once more. And now, to affirm that we are still here with hope, joy, and ongoing love, let us sing our hymn from the gray hymnal number 108, My Life Flows On. Please rise as you are willing and able. And please don't close those books quite yet.
Could you please open up those gray hymnals to 721 and join me in a responsive reading? In the struggles we choose for ourselves, in the ways we move forward in our lives and bring our world forward with us, it is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength of living. It is right. We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion. They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might come to be. Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into dust and have not disappeared. They are still. The lives they lived hold us steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. We take them with us. And with them choose the deeper path of living.
We meet again today in a time of year cloaked in millennia of traditions, interwoven into Christianity and paganism, hiding in plain sight. For a culture that tends to be afraid of death, it's interesting how we embrace this particular time of year. This coming Tuesday is Samhain, the eve of the turn to a colder season in the Celtic calendar. It will greet us in its modern name of Halloween. For generations upon generations, the Celts saw Samhain as the time when the veil between the world of the living and the dead was at its thinnest, and the spirits could visit this side. Activities we know and love today, like roaming around in costumes. I love seeing all the costumes that you all have come up with today. Or bobbing for apples. They once carried the purpose of both honoring recently deceased loved ones and placating the scariest spirits. People left the fires lit and their doors unlocked for the visitation of their beloved departed, embracing this thin moment of intimacy with the unknown. We often speak of pagan rituals. I'm sorry, I'm trying to move this so I'm not right, so I don't move where I am. We often speak of pagan rituals as bygone relics. We like to somehow think that that is no longer a part of our life, but it actually is. Their turnings have immense staying power, both within modern traditions and in more than we might recognize in popular culture. I just find it so fascinating that we tend to pretend like it's not there, but those of us who have studied these things and are aware within ourselves know that this has always been an important part of who we are. Today, modern Wiccans and pagans honor this day as an especially sacred one. There may be some of you here who honor this as a sacred time of the year. And in popular U.S. culture, the trio of Halloween, All Saints, and All Souls Day, in their intimacy with our fears, shadows, and grief, has immense staying power. We still crave this inward turning, this refusal to deny the presence of death, which is just the other side of life. Each year, Halloween, All Saints Day, and All Souls Day follow each other in quick succession. It turns out that this was no coincidence. Perhaps noticing these already existing folk traditions around the souls of departed loved ones in early November, Pope Gregory IV changed the official date of the Feast of All Saints from May 13th to November 1st in 835 CE. I think it goes with one of the mantras I try to keep in mind is, don't fight the river. If the people are already doing this, adapt to what they are doing. Through the centuries, these two traditions have remained intertwined. In fact, the word Halloween comes from All Hallows' Eve, or the eve of the Day of All Saints. Unlike feast days for individual saints in the Catholic Church, the Feast of All Saints celebrates all holy people, even those not officially recognized by the Church. It is a more common, popular holiday for this reason because the saint could very well be a person beloved to just one family. We all know that each person has impact far beyond what each of us can actually quantify. So I hesitate to put things, say, one family or one person in the world. We each have impact far beyond what and who we know. Likewise, All Souls Day honors the memory of all people who have died, no matter how complex their earthly lives were. It is a day to honor their memories with prayer and celebration. In the days when purgatory held a grip on people's psyches, All Souls Day provided an opportunity to channel their worry about their loved ones' repose. Now it is a day to feel comfortable and intimate with the community of all those who have died, who far outnumber all of us here on this earth. UUs have adopted All Souls Day because it fits with our theology that all people should be remembered. There are no saints in the UU world. We are all important people. Cultures around the world celebrate and remember those who have died. Earlier, you heard Corey speak about Dia de los Muertos, a holiday that has special significance for her family. In doing research for this sermon, I decided to also share a bit about our own Unitarian Universalist past beliefs about our relationship with the dead and some of how that has continued to change over time. Our Universalist and Unitarian, as two separate denominations, they joined in 1961. Our ancestors from the late 1800s and early 1920s, they were our closest connection to the Christian roots of Unitarian Universalism. Sometimes we forget that we did come out of Christianity. So they were our earliest connection to them. They connected to the dead through what is called the spiritualist movement. The spiritualist movement emerged in Europe and the United States in the 19th century and held that humans could communicate with the spirits of those who had departed with the earthly realm. It believed that there were parallels between the earthly plane and that of the spirit world, where the human spirit would dwell, and this is the important part, continue to evolve toward perfection following bodily death. Isn't that interesting? So it wasn't just that people died or you can be in connection with them, but that they continued to improve. Spiritualism's beliefs and practices affirmed not only the continued existence of the human soul after the physical death, but also the possibility of communication between the living and the departed. There were levels or planes of existence through which the spirits traveled as they continued their evolution toward perfection. Moreover, the spirits acted as intermediaries between God and humanity and could therefore act as moral guides. I know that some of us may have still connections with people who've died that sometimes we reach out to ourselves and ask for advice. I don't think this belief system is so outside of what many of us believe today. Seances, table turning, and spirit writing practices were common methods individuals or sensitive mediums used to contact spirits, which then imparted information about the afterlife. The term spiritualism came to include a range of metaphysical arts such as mesmerism, aka hypnotism. In the idealistic romantic atmosphere of the 19th century, spiritualism was seen as scientific proof that the human soul not only continues after death, but continues to grow and improve. This idea offered comfort to the bereaved and gave credence to the idea of universal salvation. Some of our Universalist forebears even believed, because they came over for the Catholic Church was first, and then there are many paths along the way. And so even, things that stay with us. So the Universalists, the early days, still believed that there were different levels, that everybody could be saved, but some people needed some more work. So they held out for that, like there's this possibility. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to believe that they can. And so it is this really positive focus on, we don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to believe that eventually this person, no matter how bad they were in this lifetime, could still be saved. So many Universalist ministers and parishioners espoused spiritualism and practiced its arts. Maybe not in Sunday services, but they still lived that as part of their belief system. Spiritualism also spoke to Unitarians as evidence of their belief in the continual upward progress of humankind. And since it was purported to be scientifically based, because we use like our science, it appealed to rationality and the contemporary belief that science itself could reveal all truths. While many Universalists and Unitarians embrace spiritualism, their numbers actually did include detractors, just like now. If you look at any issue in the Unitarian Universalist world right now, there are detractors. We just know that is always a part. So when I try to talk about historical things, it's not all people. There definitely were detractors. Some supporters actually turned against spiritualism as mediums and practices were increasingly exposed as fraudulent. But that doesn't mean that it didn't serve a purpose at that time. I always look at people are learning and they are practicing these ideas because it helps them. It's not that it's wrong or necessarily bad. It gives comfort to people. So beginning in the 1920s, interest in spiritualism began to decrease, but those ideas, those teachings are still with us. We just don't use those same words. While as far as I know, spiritualism isn't actually practiced today in the UU churches, you can see remnants of these beliefs in how we live our faith today. We are still people, and will always be people, who believe in upward progress. And we just don't necessarily believe that someone had upward progress after they died. So that is one difference now. So in thinking on this sermon, I was reminded that many years ago, in another congregation, a visitor asked if UUs have memorial services, because they couldn't conceive of a memorial that doesn't center God and Jesus. They're very clear that what is this place where people don't talk about God and Jesus all the time, and if I joined, would you have a memorial service for me? If you are new here today or recently, let me just say emphatically the answer is yes, we definitely have memorials. Our memorials are a celebration of the life that person lived, the roles they played in others' lives. Many times they lift up the spirituality of the deceased, or they include specific readings and music that were important to them. We try to include a time for people to tell their own stories about that person, and that helps build this community. We tend to be people who don't believe in a specific place called hell, or a specific place called heaven. Instead, like our Unitarian ancestors, we consider science and what makes sense. Most of us just can't believe in these two places. In contemplating this sermon, that's what reminded me of the reading by Aaron Freeman earlier. It is what most of us actually tend to believe. Our world tends to pit scientists against religious people, but this reading that I used earlier offers comfort to those affected by the death of a loved one, or even for yourself as you contemplate your own future death, that their energy and your protons are still with us. Just like our responsive reading just now, we believe that the energy and spirit of those who have died is still with us always. That's why I mentioned about thinking about your own physical self in this historic hall, and why we used a picture on the front of the order of service as a historic picture of this building to remember that we have long, long roots that go back long before any of us were here, and we are standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. However, having this belief in the change of energy, or perhaps lack thereof, doesn't take away grief or sadness. No one says to a grieving spouse or family member, "Science means you don't have to be sad." One of the ways we live our beliefs is by being there for each other in times of both grief and joy. We, the gathered community, support those who are left behind and make sure they do not feel forgotten. I'm thinking now of a few people that we know of whose spouses and partners have died this past year. It's important to continue reaching out to them. Because we are now at the end of Heritage Month, our Soul Matters theme for October is Heritage, I think it's important to lift up one stumbling block that can occur when we honor our ancestors. Sometimes we have a way of putting dead people on pedestals. Sometimes we believe what they did in life, what they created, can never, ever be changed. This thinking is a form of fundamentalism. It shows up in what's called originalism, the belief that we today, hundreds of years after the Constitution was written, for example, must not change that important document. I'm sure some of you have heard some of this thinking out there. We must stick with the Constitution. Our forefathers knew what they were doing. We today know that we have learned so much more. It also shows up in humans' belief about our religious documents, even though they have been translated and re-edited many, many times. We UUs like to think we are not like those people who are afraid of change, and yet we are, because we are humans. One example of this change is the second source as it's printed in the gray hymnals. I encourage you to open up a gray hymnal near you. Scroll through to page 6. They're not numbered, so just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll see at the bottom that says, "The living tradition we share draws from many sources." Now, these are not numbered, so I want you to jump down. The first one starts with direct experience. The next one starts with words. So currently, in the former, from 1984, Folks in 1984 at the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly adopted the 6 principles as written right here. So at that point in 1984, then they had adopted this that said, words and deeds of prophetic women and men, which challenges us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. This is one of our sources. This source is one that we hold close in our hearts because it affirms that we believe that people, just like All Souls Day, where we believe that people, not a spiritual source or something way beyond us, is also a source that we call upon to help us challenge and confront, to help us have compassion and remind us of the power of love. This source, along with the other sources, was adopted in 1984. How many of you were here in 1984? A few of you, yes. And so you might even, yes, part of this congregation or Unitarian Universalists in another place. So in 1984, this source was adopted. What kind of things have changed since 1984? Lots of things. Almost everything about how we operate has changed since 1984. Here's where it gets interesting. Even UUs, people who like to think of ourselves as being open to change, can also be sticklers, surprise, surprise, about not changing things. Can you believe it? We, too, can also be people who refuse to experiment or try something new. Every single one of us. And like our right-wing friends and colleagues, we too can and do say, this source right here was good enough in 1984, and it's still good now. Why does it need to change? Well, friends, even as we celebrate our heritage, we can honor the work of those who came before us. And that's something I really appreciated about that reading. It honors those who worked for justice, and they never said, stop now. We can honor them while continuing to work towards more inclusion. In an effort to make the language be more inclusive, in 2017, the UUA General Assembly was presented with an amendment to replace the phrase women and men with people. Some noted that back in 1984, it was a big deal that women came before men. And they hated to lose that record of the history of our feminism. But considerations of inclusivity carried the day. Not only did the change support and include non-binary people, it also expanded the pool of prophets to include children and youth, just like our children today. Greta Thunberg and Anne Frank came to mind as prophetic sources of wisdom. Can you just imagine this at the General Assembly, people stepping up and saying, wait a minute, Anne Frank? Are we saying she doesn't count? The amendment needed to pass twice, and did, in 2017 and 2018. The second source now refers to words and deeds of prophetic people. If you would like, you are welcome to cross out women and men and write the word people in your book. Even when we honor those who came before us, the people who created the sources in 1984 were very well-intentioned and were trailblazers for their time. We can also blaze our own paths in the present. Honoring the past while moving forward is a challenging thing to do. I'm not saying it's easy. It is a spiritual practice that allows us to live into our principles and values. We UUs can hold multiple things to be true simultaneously. It's something we strive for. We honor those who came before us We thank them for their roles in our lives, and we know that honoring them also means being open to what they did not yet know. I think again of scientists, and we don't expect them to have made a discovery in the 1960s and for us to not continue learning. Heritage is a wonderful thing, but we must not get stuck in the past. Friends, death loses its power over us when we can laugh, like we have done this morning, and move in closer proximity to it. I appreciate the pictures that our children brought up onto our table. You're welcome to come see them after a service. Coming close to it allows us to not be stuck in fear. Once a year, at least, it's important to invite grief and death into our life, to prepare a place for it, to acknowledge it, to have fun with it, be silly with it if we can. In doing so, we awaken the memories of our ancestors. Through the teachings of many cultures, we learn to reconnect, laugh, and not take our ancestors too seriously as well. In these dusky autumnal months, I'm so sad that there is no sun today, but at least there's not wind. The fire of our memory lights the way forward. May it ever be so. During the offertory, while the choir sings Gathering of Spirits, we will have a slideshow of pictures of people connected to the UCF community who died within the past year, and pictures of plaques from our memorial garden. They will be playing up here while they sing. When you see their pictures or read their names, think on the role they played in this community. May their spirits continue to be felt long into the future.
Oh, sorry.
Some hello. Before we get to that, I'd like to do some joys and sorrows here. A perfect heart is one that has known love and loss, joy and sorrow. The perfect heart is one that has been shared. As joys and sorrows of our community are shared, please direct your energy, prayers, and meditations as a gift of compassion and strength. And also let us know if you would like the handheld microphone brought to you. Anyone with joys and sorrows can come forward. intentions that rest in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. One for the joys, one for the sorrows, and one for the strength of the gathered community that can support you and bring you peace. And our words of offering come from Kayla Parker today. We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope. And now the choir.
I'm waiting for the projection. What? I was waiting for the projection. There's a projector. Yes. There we go. There we go. Okay.
All rise as you are willing and able, and join us in our final song from the great hymnal, number 411, Heart and Peace.
As we end our service together, may we remember that we are one and we are loved across time and space, cultures, religious beliefs, and even liminal space, the thinnest of time between the living and the dead. We are all connected. May it be ever so. Amen.
Thank you.